still standing after all this, then the world's going to be a very dark place. China's going to get the wrong signal, and we'll have a mess on our hands in Europe for decades to come. So let's take out Putin by helping Ukraine.
All right, so you're saying that that's how this ends, that Putin is removed? Is there any way?
There's no off-ramp.
There is no off-ramp.
No off-ramp.
Let's take out Putin. It's weird to see a guy live out his strange little fantasy life on TV live. Lindsey Graham won't come on this show. He's afraid. We could spend the next hour playing clips of Lindsey Graham going back 20 years making predictions that didn't come true and resulted only in the death of American servicemen and the impoverishment of the United States. He's gotten it wrong every single time, and he's still out there. Let's just take out Putin. Really, what would happen then? The country has 6,000 nuclear weapons. Would they be unsecured? You thought we had a mess on our hands when Saddam's arsenals fell into the hands of lunatics and extremists? What would happen to those 6,000 nuclear weapons if we just take out Putin? They don't even think about it. They don't care. They're high on their own supply. Dan Crenshaw of Texas, for example, not a stupid guy, just announced that we're, quote, investing in the destruction of our adversary's military when we spend $40 billion on Ukraine. Investing in the destruction of our adversary's military. Since when did we declare war on Russia? Did anybody vote for that? Our adversary's military? That's what you do in war. Since when are we fighting Russia? Well, since Putin stole the election from Hillary Clinton. Glad to see that Dan Crenshaw has signed up for this new campaign. But you got to wonder at what cost? Not just the peril, the real peril that this could escalate into something crushing for the West, but what immediate cost to the United States and our own ability to defend ourselves? All those people who love the military, do they ever ask that question? Right now, Joe Biden and the U.S. Congress have sent so much military aid to Ukraine that our country, the United States, is running out of weapons. According to Bloomberg, quote, Pentagon officials say that Kiev is blowing through a week's worth of deliveries of anti-tank munitions every day. It's also running short of usable aircraft as Russian airstrikes and combat losses take their toll. Ammunition has become scarce in Mariupol and other areas in Ukraine. This is presenting Western countries with a stark choice between pouring more supplies into Ukraine or husbanding finite capabilities they may need for their own defense. That's the line. They may need for their own defense. It's a scary world, and if you blow it all on Ukraine with finite resources, which we have, sorry, where does that leave you? Undefended. Now, this is happening because senior leaders of the Republican Party instantly bought the New York Times position on Ukraine, as they instantly bought the New York Times position on the BLM riots, as they instantly bought the position of the New York Times on the COVID lockdowns. They didn't question what they read, and the consequence is now we are short on weapons to defend our own country. Now, no Democrat ever goes against his own herd, ever. The first reaction of every Democrat is always to read whatever talking points Nancy Pelosi provides. They never listen to the other side. They always go farther in one direction. And the Republican Party is always led by people who join them. Here, for example, is how Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland responded when Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia raised an objection with the bill. Wait, what about our country, she said. Here's what he said back.
$40 billion. But there's no baby formula for American mothers and babies. An unknown amount of money to the CIA in the Ukraine supplemental bill, but there's no formula for American babies and mothers. We should be paying attention to our country right now. I yield back. Thank you.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentlewoman from Minnesota reserved. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Here's a formula for the destruction of democracy: repeating Putin's propaganda and disinformation and appeasing imperialist assaults on sovereign nations.
So you can't buy baby formula in the United States, and maybe you think you can do both at once. You can fund Ukraine and get baby formula for American babies. Maybe you can fix inflation and also fund Ukraine. Speak slowly and tell us how that works. Maybe there's an answer to the question, but notice they don't answer. They just accuse the person asking the question of working for Putin. You're working for Putin. You're against democracy. They don't tell us how Ukraine is a democracy. They banned the opposition party. That's a democracy. But maybe there's an answer. What is it? Stop name-calling and answer the question. But Jamie Raskin won't do that. None of them will. He screams about Putin. Now, 57 Republicans did vote against last night's bill, and God bless them for doing it. But many more voted for it. Of course, there was Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and their friend Elise Stefanik. But there was also Republican leadership, top leadership, McCarthy and Scalise. Shameful. And the worst part is this bill will almost certainly pass in the Senate, which is way more left-wing even than the House on the Republican side. Chuck Schumer is promising a swift vote on it. That means as soon as tomorrow. So we reached out to every Republican in the Senate to find out what they plan to do. Most of them didn't bother to reply. None of them will come on the show. That would include Mitch McConnell, the minority leader. Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, Chuck Grassley, Mitt Romney also did not respond. We're hoping they'll vote the right way. But a handful of senators did respond, and we want to let you know where they stand. Voting no will be Mike Braun, Roger Marshall, Marsha Blackburn, Bill Hagerty, and Josh Hawley. Rand Paul has also indicated he's opposed to the bill. He wouldn't say so, but of course he's against it. Lindsey Graham, needless to say, is a yes. He is thrilled! As his office put it, Senator Graham has made it clear he supports additional military aid to Ukraine because it makes him feel so good inside. He didn't say that, but that's the truth. Rob Portman of Ohio is leaving. Thank heaven he's also a yes. So is Steve Daines of Montana. Quote, the senator is leading yes, his office said. They also told us that Daines thinks Russian oligarchs somehow will pay the $40 billion. Quote, he wants to make Russia cover the costs. He wants to use the seized assets of oligarchs to cover the costs. Right, okay. A few senators dodged. Pat Toomey, Tim Scott, Cindy Hyde-Smith all refused to give us a direct answer. We want to invite any Republican senator who plans on voting for this to come on the show and explain why. Please tell us. We'll let you talk as much as you want. We're not going to sandbag you. We want to know why this is in America's interest, why this is more important than the pressing crises all around us that the rest of us notice and apparently you don't. So tell us. You're always welcome. Until they accept, we are joined by Stephen Miller.